We're on the boat with one of the crews right now, and I'm just going to show you a little bit about what they're working with here. So you can see there's a lot of debris in the river.
Yes, it is, and it was the same way yesterday, but from my understanding, the water is about a foot less deep than what it was yesterday.
I'll never forget this, never. No, you can go on with life each day, try to be strong, but it's just so heartbreaking.
This is Michael Owens taking the stand in court, telling them the horrifying story of how he had killed his wife, Ebony Owens. He didn't just shoot her, he burned her car and threw her lifeless body into a river, trying to erase all evidence of what he had done. By the time you hear every detail he revealed and how the warning signs were missed before Ebony was gone, you'll feel the same shock, anger, and heartbreak her family felt that day. Stay with me, because we're about to unpack this story step by step, revealing exactly how it unfolded and why no one could have imagined the nightmare that followed.
The reputation that she had is that she was a good team player for the employees that she worked with. They quickly fell in love with her and her work ethics. We're saddened by her untimely, and we pray for strength for her family.
36-year-old Ebony Owens was born on October 13, 1990, in the small town of Edwards, Mississippi, a place where everyone seemed to know one another and crime was almost unheard of. It was the kind of community where neighbors left their doors unlocked, where families gathered for Sunday dinners, and where children played freely in the streets. Which is why Ebony's tragic death was so shocking, not only because of the brutality of the act itself, but because it came from someone no one could have ever imagined. Growing up, Ebony quickly developed a reputation for kindness, humility, and warmth. Her family, friends, and neighbors often spoke of her selfless nature, her compassion, and the way she made people feel seen and valued. She was the type of person who remembered birthdays, who checked in on friends during difficult times, and who offered a helping hand without hesitation. Her presence was described as nurturing, almost magnetic, drawing people toward her with ease. She formed strong, lifelong friendships and became known as someone who always put others before herself. Whether volunteering at her local church, helping neighbors in need, or caring for her family, Ebony exuded empathy and a quiet strength that left a lasting impression. Her generosity was not performative, it was woven into the fabric of who she was. During her years at Edwards High School, Ebony's kindness and friendly demeanor made her well-liked among classmates and teachers alike. She wasn't the loudest or most outgoing student, but her warm smile and gentle spirit left a mark on everyone she encountered. Which was no surprise when the community loved her. Teachers admired her diligence and respectfulness, while peers cherished her loyalty and ability to listen without judgment. As she matured into adulthood, Ebony chose a career path that reflected her natural empathy, nursing. In this role, she became a respected member of her community, caring for patients with the same compassion she showed her family and friends. Her colleagues admired her dedication, and her patients trusted her deeply. Outside of work, she was affectionately known as the Candy Lady because she always had sweets for the children in her neighborhood. This small gesture became symbolic of her larger personality, thoughtful, generous, and always eager to bring joy to others. Her life was a testament to service, love, and resilience. Ebony Owens embodied the values of her hometown, community, faith, and kindness, and in doing so, she became more than just a nurse, a daughter, or a friend. She became a pillar of her community, someone whose presence made others feel safe, valued, and cared for. But in all of these, Ebony's family were at the center of her life. She was a devoted mother to 4 children whose well-being was her highest priority. Every moment she spent was filled with love and care for her kids, helping with schoolwork, playing with them, or simply sharing quality time together. Ebony was a devoted daughter and sister, maintaining strong bonds with her extended family. Her presence brought stability and support, making her sudden disappearance all the more devastating. Despite her strength and nurturing nature, Ebony's life began to unravel when she married Michael Owens, a 36-year-old man with a troubled past. Initially, their marriage seemed full of promise, but over time it became filled with emotional turmoil and tension. Friends and family observed the strain and warned of potential trouble, but Ebony, as she often did, attempted to carry the weight of the household and hold the family together. Behind closed doors, she endured challenges and conflicts that only a few could imagine. Her resilience was remarkable, but it could only shield her so much from the darkness that would soon engulf her life. On March 15, 2023, Ebony Owens disappeared. She didn't show up for work the next day, alarming her colleagues and loved ones. The abruptness of her absence was completely out of character, and concern grew quickly. Her family immediately contacted law enforcement and began searching desperately for answers. Hours turned into days with no sign of Ebony. The community, shocked and alarmed, rallied together, hoping to locate her safely. But this would only mark the beginning of a series of events that no one could have foreseen. On the afternoon of March 16, 2023, deputies from the Hinds County Sheriff's Department decided to conduct a welfare check at Ebony Owens' home on 110 Edwards Avenue. It was around 1:40 p.m. when they arrived at the quiet residence. From the outside, the house appeared abandoned. The front door was locked, the windows undisturbed, and there were no immediate signs of struggle or forced entry. Yet the silence inside carried a weight that unsettled the deputies. Despite the home looking untouched, the absence of Ebony raised immediate concern. She was known to be attentive to her family and responsibilities, and it was unusual for her not to be in contact with loved ones. The quietness of the house only deepened the mystery surrounding her disappearance, leaving deputies with more questions than answers. Their unease grew as they realized that the stillness was not ordinary, but it was the silence of something gone terribly wrong. On March 16th at around 6 a.m., Ebony's white 2015 Acura TL158 was found burning on the side of the road on Old Highway 80, located just minutes from Ebony's home, with the license plate discarded nearby. However, discovering the vehicle fire was more than a coincidence. It signaled foul play. Investigators began focusing on Michael Owens, Ebony's husband. While initially not a suspect, mounting evidence increasingly pointed towards his involvement. As investigators dug deeper, their attention began to shift towards the troubled dynamics of Ebony's marriage. What had once appeared to be a private matter between husband and wife now emerged as a critical piece of the puzzle. Accounts of mounting tension and unresolved conflict painted a picture of a relationship under strain, and detectives could not ignore the possibility that these issues might be connected to her disappearance. The discovery of Ebony's burned vehicle only heightened suspicions. Combined with the growing uncertainty about her whereabouts, the evidence raised unsettling questions about her husband, Michael, and whether he might have played a role in the unfolding tragedy. The case was no longer simply about locating Ebony. It had transformed into a homicide investigation, one marked by betrayal, violence, and the chilling realization that the answers lay not in random chance, but in the intimate circle of her closest relationships. Then, a crucial discovery shifted the investigation into a darker territory.
This is during the search for the body of Ebony Owens. Now, she went missing about 8 days ago. This is the 8th day of the search, and authorities have crews out here right now searching this river using sonar and other technology to try and find her body. They believe that she was, well, they were told that she was thrown off the Highway 80 bridge and has floated down, potentially floated down the Big Black River. So we're on the boat with one of the crews right now, and I'm just going to show you a little bit about what they're working with here. So you can see see there's a lot of debris in the river. That's partially because they did some maneuvers that shake it loose. And hopefully when you do that, you hope that it'll bring anything that is snagged in the debris to the surface. So we'll see a lot of things that are floating down the river as we go. In addition, they use sonar that can show you very clearly, the technology is pretty amazing, what's under the water. Now you do sometimes still get false type, images, but the fact is it's very, very easy to see the shape of a human if it's in the right situation. I don't want to say that it's very easy, but in the right situation, you can decipher that is a human. What we have here is there is a lot of debris under the water as well. That makes conditions better for, someone snagging on the bottom and getting stuck. But at this point in the time that she's been gone, it's easy to assume that she might start to float in, sometime today or the next couple of days. The cold weather may have affected that some, but at this point, this is where we are. And again, we're on the Big Black River. We are in Warren County, right off Warriors Trail. And this is, the search team has been up this way, but at one point, they took their boats high speed up that way because that does, create a wake and start to shake loose some of the debris.
Those who knew her best described her as cautious and responsible, someone who rarely deviated from her routine. The idea that she had ventured into Clinton without explanation raised troubling questions and suggested that something unexpected had occurred. The information left investigators baffled. Why had she gone there? Was she meeting someone she trusted, or had she been lured under false pretenses? Most importantly, how did her car end up on Old Highway 80, just minutes from her home? The answers were unclear, but the evidence pointed to the possibility that Ebony had encountered a situation she could never have anticipated, one that ultimately placed her in grave danger. At this point, investigators had no choice but to appeal to the public for assistance. They pleaded with anyone who had information that could help them locate Ebony. But at the same time, Ebony's husband, Michael Owens, was still on their radar. They believed he may have something to do with Ebony's disappearance. Not only that, detectives also discovered that he had been in communication with Ebony shortly before her disappearance. Meanwhile, Ebony's family, on the other hand, had begun to fear the worst, and soon enough, their worst fears were confirmed. Authorities launched a thorough search of the Big Black River, a location thought to potentially contain clues about Ebony's disappearance. Search teams faced challenges such as strong currents, debris, and limited visibility. Despite the obstacles, they were determined to find her, both for the sake of the investigation and to provide closure for her grieving family. Using boats, sonar, and thermal gear, crews combed the river, navigating the treacherous waters with painstaking care.
For a second straight day, search and recovery teams launching their boats into the Big Black River to find the body of missing mom, Ebony Owens.
We tried to launch this morning about 8 o'clock, but the river had fluctuated some, and the rain during the night made it just almost impossible.
Warren County Sheriff Martin Pace says one huge drawback in the search, the swift current of water moving down the river.
Yes, it is, and it was the same way yesterday, but from my understanding, the water is about a foot less deep than what it was yesterday.
Hinds County Sheriff Tyree Jones believes Owens' husband, Michael Owens, shot her at least once overnight Wednesday and then dumped her body from a bridge into the river.
I can say on behalf of the Jackson Hinds that this has been a devastating news for us.
Ebony Owens worked at Jackson Hinds Comprehensive Health Center. Her colleagues knew something was wrong when she didn't show up for work Wednesday morning.
Once we realized she wasn't at work within a few minutes after 8, we knew something was wrong.
Director of Nursing Michelle Owens, who's not related to Owens, says her colleagues are heartbroken.
She was sweet to the patients, to her co-workers, got along well with the doctors here. She was just a great person to work with.
The sheriff says they want to recover Owens' body as quickly as possible to give her family a sense of closure. Reporting from Hinds County, Ross Adams, 16 WAPT News.
Law enforcement crews prepared for another surge of the Big Black River after several days of trying to locate the body of an Edwards woman. 12 News' Tia McKenzie has details about some obstacles crew members encountered. Tia?
Byron Melody Rapid currents, colder temperatures, trees, debris, and a lack of visibility. Crews continue to face challenges as search and rescue and recovery for the body of 36-year-old Ebony Owens resumed today at the Big Black River. Multiple agencies teamed up to resume day 5 of the search. Rubber boots, life jackets, and thermal gear were the attire for today's mission. Ebony Owens' husband, Michael Owens, appeared in court just yesterday for the first time. He is charged with murder and arson after his wife was shot, according to the Hinds County Sheriff's Office. The judge determined no bond would be set for Michael Owens at Monday's court appearance. Tia McKenzie, 12 News.
Eyewitness accounts and neighbors added to the urgency. Patrick Coleman, who lived nearby, described Ebony as a good mother and neighbor. The revelation that something so terrible had occurred in their small town shocked him deeply. The community, known for its quiet way of life, struggled to reconcile the image of the woman they admired with the gruesome reality of her fate.
An ongoing search for 36-year-old Ebony Owens in the Big Black River underway Thursday. The Warren County Sheriff's Department and Department for Wildlife and Fisheries assisting Hinds County with search boats and drones.
We believe that the deceased body of Ms. Owens was put into the Big Black River here near this particular location.
Deputies found Ebony's white Acura burned Wednesday morning near her and her husband, Michael Owens' home. After a welfare check, Ebony was reported missing.
I just got here and the police was everywhere, and I asked, I'm like, what's going on? They said her car was found on the side of the road, burnt up. I'm like, man.
Patrick Coleman is a neighbor of the couple. He says Ebony was a good neighbor and a good mother to her 4 children, 2 of which still live in that home.
That's terrible, man. That was a good girl.
Then the investigation took a turn. Hinds County Sheriff Tyree Jones announced her husband, Michael Owens, was being brought in for questioning. The department arrested 36-year-old Michael Owens, changing the missing persons investigation into a investigation.
He will be charged with her, and he will be charged with arson as well.
Sheriff Jones believes Ebony from at least 1 gun wound, but says investigators won't know the extent of what happened until her body is found. Reporting in Hinds County, Grayson Gordon, 16 WAPT News.
Sheriff Tyree Jones confirmed that Michael Owens was brought in for questioning, and the investigation intensified as evidence began to implicate him directly. Investigators discovered inconsistencies in his account, discrepancies in his account of Ebony's last known movements, and signs that he had attempted to cover his tracks. Michael's behavior after Ebony's disappearance, including his failure to provide explanations and the suspicious discovery of the burning car, further reinforced law enforcement's suspicions. On March 25, 2023, the search for Ebony Owens reached a heartbreaking conclusion. After days of combing through rural areas and waterways, authorities recovered the 36-year-old's Ebony Owens body from the Big Black River, miles away from her home in Edwards. What had begun as a desperate effort to locate a missing woman now shifted into the grim reality of a homicide investigation.
Well, we have breaking news out of Hinds County. The search for Ebony Owens is over. This after an unidentified body was found in the Big Black River around 4 this afternoon, and that body has since been identified as Owens. Now, Owens has been missing since March 15th, and the investigation turned into a investigation after her husband Michael Owens was arrested and charged with her. Michael Owens is also charged with arson and sexual battery of a minor.
Spoke with Shannon Daniels. She says she's known Ebony Owens practically all of her life since they were 5 years old, and she says seeing her husband in court today was very emotional. A judge refusing to set bond for Michael Owens during a Monday initial court appearance. Owens facing an arson charges and the of his wife, Ebony Owens, and then disposing of her body in a river.
I mean, I knew him because of her being married to him, but I didn't too much care for him.
Ebony Owens' best friend, Shannon Daniels, in the courtroom for the brief hearing, feeling a range of emotions.
Just anger. And I'm just in disbelief that he did that to her. She was a good person, a good mother, a good sister, a good daughter. She didn't deserve that.
Owens is charged with and third-degree arson. According to the Hinds County Sheriff, the 36-year-old Owens was at least once, her body later thrown into the Big Black River overnight Wednesday. 2 hours later, authorities found Owens' car burning on the side of the road just minutes from the couple's home in Edwards, where they lived with 2 of Ebony's 4 children, a 7 and 11-year-old.
It's been a while since I spoke with her, but we was best friends. It's nothing that we didn't talk about.
One thing Daniels didn't want to talk about publicly, what may have led her best friend's husband to allegedly take her life.
I feel like, people take their vows too serious when they say death to do you part. I just feel like if somebody wants to leave, just let them go.
Monday afternoon, search crews returned to the Big Black River at the Hines-Warren County lines for a 4th day, hoping to find and recover Owens' body. Authorities say one huge challenge they face, the river filled with debris, which could conceal human remains. Owens worked at the Jackson Hines Comprehensive Health Center, where a manager told us she was recently promoted. Along with her kids, Owens leaves behind 4 sisters. And authorities have not given a motive for why they believe Ebony Owens was. Her husband told the judge today in court he does have an attorney, but hadn't had a chance to speak with his legal counsel. Tonight we're live at the Hines County Courthouse. Ross Adams, 16 WAPT News.
Once Ebony Owens' body was recovered from the Big Black River, the case immediately escalated from a missing person investigation to a full-scale murder inquiry. Law enforcement agencies worked tirelessly to reconstruct the timeline of her final hours, gathering forensic evidence, witness statements, and surveillance footage. Each piece of evidence painted a chilling picture of the last moments of Ebony's life and the actions of her husband, Michael Owens. As detectives pressed forward, troubling details began to surface. Evidence placed Michael Owens, Ebony's husband, in the Clinton area on the very night she vanished. His movements and behavior in the days leading up to her disappearance grew increasingly suspicious, raising questions that investigators could not ignore. Piece by piece, law enforcement began reconstructing the timeline. They examined Ebony's last known activities, her interactions with Michael, and his whereabouts during those critical hours. Each new detail added weight to the suspicion surrounding him. Investigators found numerous inconsistencies in Michael's account of events. Firstly, he claimed that he had discovered Ebony in bed with another man and acted in self-defense, shooting her in a moment of rage. However, forensic analysis and evidence at the scene contradicted this narrative. Ebony had been shot at close range, and the meticulous steps Michael took to destroy evidence, including setting her vehicle on fire, removing the license plate, and disposing of her body in the river, suggested planning rather than spontaneous action. The investigation revealed a disturbing sequence. Michael's attempts to conceal the crime, combined with the brutal act of murder, painted a portrait of a man motivated not only by rage, but also by a desire to evade responsibility. The crime was personal and premeditated, yet he initially presented himself as a grieving husband to deflect suspicion. But then, a single clue brought the case into sharp focus. Detectives uncovered a series of damning pieces of evidence that began to tie Michael Owens directly to the crime. Search teams scoured multiple locations connected to the couple, including the ranch apartments, where items believed to belong to Ebony were recovered. Investigators uncovered a blood-stained blanket, articles of clothing, and several fire rounds. These items painted a chilling picture of what may have unfolded behind closed doors. The presence of blood suggested that Ebony had suffered a violent confrontation before she vanished, and the weapons raised further questions about how the attack had been carried out. Taken together, the physical evidence told a grim story. What had once been speculation was now supported by tangible proof, pointing to the likelihood that Ebony's final moments were marked by brutality within the very space that should have been her refuge. The discoveries shifted the investigation from suspicion to certainty, solidifying the case against Michael Owens and revealing the horrifying reality of what had happened before Ebony disappeared. The investigation eventually reached a decisive turning point when detectives moved in to arrest Michael Owens, formally charging him with the murder of his wife, Ebony. Law enforcement, armed with mounting evidence, placed him into custody. By this stage, investigators had gathered a substantial body of proof: text messages, surveillance footage, and forensic analysis, all of which pointed directly to Michael's involvement in the crime. Once detained, Michael was transported to the Hinds County Detention Center, where he was held without bond. For the community, still reeling from the shock of Ebony's disappearance and death, the arrest was both devastating and bewildering. The man who had once stood beside her at church gatherings, attended neighborhood events, and been seen as a supportive husband and father was now accused of betraying her in the most horrific way. To outsiders, their marriage had appeared stable, even loving. Michael often accompanied Ebony to community functions, and together they seemed to embody the image of a committed couple. Yet Ebony's family was less surprised by the turn of events. While they had initially hoped Michael might be cleared of suspicion, the mounting evidence had caused them to question his role long before the arrest was made. In the midst of these revelations, a chilling belief began to circulate. Some speculated that Michael had shot and killed Ebony after she allegedly caught him in a compromising situation with her daughter. Though no definitive proof was ever presented to substantiate this claim, the rumor added another layer of darkness to an already tragic case. Whether true or not, the mere possibility underscored the depth of betrayal and violence that had shattered Ebony's life and left her community searching for answers. Michael Owens' court proceedings began in early 2025, and the case quickly became a focal point of national attention. The trial highlighted not only the details of Ebony's murder, but also the broader issue of domestic violence and the dangers that can lurk behind familiar faces. Ebony's family and community attended the proceedings, seeking justice while confronting the reality that the man responsible for her death had been someone they once trusted. During testimony, Michael Owens admitted that he snapped upon discovering Ebony in bed with another man. He attempted to frame the murder as a crime of passion, a momentary loss of control. He claimed he feared for his life and that the shooting was an act of self-defense. Yet, prosecutors meticulously demonstrated that Michael's actions before and after the murder undermined this defense. Bringing a drill to remove the license plate, pouring gasoline, and setting the car on fire indicated premeditation. His disposal of Ebony's body in the Big Black River further reinforced the calculated nature of the crime.
It's the state of Mississippi versus Michael Owens, and as evidence was shown, Owens covered his face. 2 witnesses took the stand today, and they shared their memories of the investigation. Owens is accused of his wife, Ebony Owens, in March of 2023. He told police he shot her, wrapped her body in a blanket, and threw her into the Big Black River. He also admitted to lighting her car on fire and removing the license plate. Owens said all this stemmed from seeing a mysterious man in his home in bed with his wife. The first witness to take the stand, investigator Richard Brown, said there were many inconsistencies in Owens' story and he felt Owen lacked credibility. Owens' team said although his stories were inconsistent, in every story, Owens did say that he saw a mysterious man in his home and that the man ran out of his home. The second witness to take the stand was investigator Stephen Sims. He said he took pictures throughout this investigation. He gave first-hand accounts of the graphic pictures shown in court. Sims says these were pictures of Ebony Owens' burned car, removed license plate, and blood-soiled bed sheets. Sims said there were also pictures of Owens' body near the Big Black River and bloodstains on the bridge over the river. Now, Judge Faye Peterson dismissed the jury in the middle of Sims' testimony, and they plan to return tomorrow at 10:30. And as more details come out of this case, we'll be sure to keep you updated. I'm live in Jackson, Brooklyn. Joyner 16 WAPT News.
Key witnesses testified about Michael's behavior and the inconsistencies in his statements. Investigator Richard Brown pointed out numerous contradictions in Michael's story, highlighting that his credibility was questionable at best. Investigator Stephen Sims presented graphic forensic evidence, including photographs of Ebony's burned vehicle, blood-stained bed sheets, and the location where her body was discovered in the river. The images revealed a disturbing level of violence and deliberate attempts to cover up the crime. As the trial progressed, Michael's defense continued to argue that the murder was impulsive, a crime of passion resulting from the shock and betrayal he felt. They cited the rocky nature of their marriage and the alleged infidelity as mitigating factors. Michael, visibly emotional at times, maintained that he did not intend to kill Ebony, expressing remorse for his actions.
Well, Several people came to the stand today, including Michael Owens himself. And as he was being questioned by the state, he had to remove his glasses from how much he was crying as he talked about his deceased wife, Ebony Owens. Now, Owens admitted to going crazy after seeing his wife, Ebony Owens, in bed with another man. He said that's why he Ebony, threw her body in the Big Black River and set her car on fire. Owens' team is arguing this was a crime of passion. They are saying Owens Ebony because they had a rocky marriage where they were both unfaithful to each other. They also said he was fearful of his life the night of the murder because Ebony pointed a gun at him first. Now the state is arguing that Owens Ebony was planned. They pointed out how many times he lied during the investigation back in 2023, which means he could be lying about seeing a man in bed with Ebony. They also pointed out how he brought a drill to take off her car's license plate and gas tank to light her car on fire before throwing her body into the river. With tears in his eyes, Owens insisted he just snapped that night. He said he didn't mean to kill her and he regrets what he has done. He also said he didn't take Ebony to get help after her in the head because he was scared and he did not want to go to jail.
I snapped. When I snapped, I just went into rage. When I snapped, I wasn't in my right state of mind. I just lost my mind.
What did you do?
I went crazy.
What did you do?
I started, I asked the dude to get out of my house. And after that, I started forcing it my wife.
This trial is far from over. They are expected to return to court on Monday at 9:30 a.m. And as more developments come out of this, we will be sure to keep you updated. I'm live at the Hinds County Courthouse. Brooklyn Joyner, 16 WAPT News.
On September 8th, 2025, after careful deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Michael Owens was convicted of first-degree murder and third-degree arson. The courtroom fell silent as the verdict was read, marking the end of a harrowing chapter for Ebony's family. During sentencing, family members spoke through tears, sharing the profound impact of her loss and emphasizing the human cost of Michael's actions. Their testimony highlighted the devastating ripple effects of Ebony's death on her children, extended family, and the broader Edwards community. Michael Owens was sentenced to life in prison for the murder, with an additional 3 years for the arson charge. The sentence was designed to reflect the severity of his crimes and to ensure that justice was served for Ebony Owens and her family.
Thankful that justice was served today. No human should have gone through things that my daughter went through. But the only thing I can do is continue to be strong for myself, my family, my grandchildren.
The trial lasted 2 weeks with closing arguments from the defense beginning Monday morning. Trent Walker, who represented Owens, said they held their ground during the trial.
We put on the best possible case on behalf of Mr. Owens, given the information that was out there, and we are satisfied that we did the best job that we could for Mr. Owens.
Just before the verdict was read, Owens apologized to the family for his actions. Ms. Jenkins Johnson says sorry just doesn't cut it.
Sorry, I mean, hey, that ain't gonna get it for me because I'll never forget this, never. No, you can go on with life each day, try to be strong, but it's just so heartbreaking.
And Owens was sentenced to life in prison, plus 3 years for the arson charge, which will be served concurrently with his sentence. For now, I'm live in Jackson. Kendall Jones, 16 WAPT News.
While the verdict brought a measure of closure, it could not erase the grief and pain of losing Ebony, whose life had been full of love, service, and compassion. Ebony's story is one of extraordinary compassion and dedication cut short by an unimaginable betrayal. She was a mother, daughter, sister, and community member whose life was filled with love and service. Her death serves as a tragic reminder of the consequences of domestic violence and betrayal within families. The community mourned not only her loss, but also the realization that the person responsible was someone they had once trusted and known well. Ebony's children, left without a mother, faced an unimaginable void. Family members and close friends vowed to provide support and ensure that their children could grow up with a strong sense of her love and values, despite her absence. They emphasized teaching them resilience, empathy, and the importance of family bonds, qualities that Ebony had exemplified throughout her life. The Edwards community, still reeling from the shocking crime, came together in the aftermath to support Ebony's family. Vigils, fundraisers, and remembrance events were organized to honor her legacy and to provide comfort to those affected by her death. Ebony's funeral was held at New Horizons Church International in Jackson, Mississippi, reflecting both the grief of those who loved her and the impact she had on her community. Family members, friends, neighbors, and supporters packed the church to pay their respects. Ebony was laid to rest at Garden Memorial Park, where the serene environment offered a peaceful resting place. The ceremony became more than a farewell. It was a testament to Ebony Owens' life, her compassion, and the indelible mark she left on everyone she touched. Whether the accusation of Michael Owens having anything to do with Ebony's daughter, or if truly Ebony had caught them that night or not, would remain a mystery. But let me ask you, do you think Michael Owens killed Ebony because he had caught her in bed with another man, or because Ebony had caught him in bed with her daughter and knows more than he is letting on? Let me know what you think in the comments section.